I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast. Gary versus Jeremy, Avengers versus X-Men. Me and Gary are at each other's throats this week. We have every
big
possible
win for
topic.
the Garys.
We are
previous, when you were like Gary versus Jeremy and Jeremy's winning. When the Avengers were winning, so I was like, okay, that makes sense. But now, pretty good move by the X-Men, aka the Garys.
Wait.
In this,
are you implying that the Garys are the X-Men of this equation? Because absolutely not. Do not accept that.
I think that you implied it by being like Gary versus Jeremy. Jeremy's winning.
Okay.
Every single time when the Avengers won at the end of during the comics.
Well, I am just going to make myself whatever third party the Avengers and the X-Men are going to have to unite to fight at the end of this crossover event.
Defenders. Hey guys,
I'm Thanos. That's what I would like to say.
Hey guys,
it's me. I am Alpha Flight.
Yeah, it's me, the Alpha Flight. What's going on?
I don't like being the Avengers. I only support the MCU Avengers. Comic book Avengers can get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, like your Hank Pym hatred just boils inside you for this. This is the third issue of the main crossover. We're finally off that beach.
We're off the beach and on the town, baby. Like, I'm ready.
Yeah, I've heard of a beach that makes people old, but a beach that makes people reading about it old. And this is a really short issue in which the X-Men escape.
Yes.
It's really the only plot thing that happens.
I think it's I didn't realize this at the time, but at the end of this it says like the next issue is in 2 weeks. Like I think it's interesting that the mainline book in this is coming out every 2 weeks because this feels very, very slight to me.
Oh yeah.
And if this wasn't if this was a monthly book, I'd be like, I waited like 30 days for you guys to get off this beach and you just took Wolverine to some ice. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. You took a whole issue to just get him off the beach.
Yeah.
And
I also kind of fundamentally disagree with Captain America's thinking with Wolverine right now. And it happens in this book. And I kind of think he's a little bit of a dumbass for it, to be honest with you. I've kind of been anti-Cap in this whole series based on the decisions that he was making. And this continues that line.
Yeah, he does some dumb shit. This is it's necessary because the heart of this crossover is like which one is Wolverine more of, and if the X-Men just treated him like crap the entire time and he was never challenged by the Avengers, it wouldn't be very much of a decision. He has to know that he wants to stop the Phoenix, but also not agree with either of the methods for him to be kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
Of this. So it makes sense from like a larger plot character standpoint for Wolverine, but it does read really weird for Captain America.
Yeah. The cover on this is just Wolverine and Captain America fighting like a real up close kind of action, claws against the shield. Both people have ripped up costumes, spittle flying everywhere. Guys, if you got COVID is a thing, just back off from a little bit, put your mask on, like just do it with words, not claws.
Are we in the stage where we're supposed to spit into each other's mouths with COVID, like spit blood specifically into one another's mouths?
I'm sure. Yeah.
Is that what stage of lockdown is that?
I don't know, man. Like I find it very weird that people on the internet are like think that spitting each other's mouth is sexy. Like I don't shame anybody for that,
Dude.
but like to me,
it's fucking gross.
Like every once in a while it'll happen in porn too, and I'm like, man, like there's just some things in porn that will take me right out of anything and porn is already kind of bad. Like professional porn is not great anyway, but like
it's fucking horrendous.
Yeah. And it's very rare that I like try to look at professionally made porn nowadays, and when stuff like that happens, I'm like, I don't get it, guys. Like. I just don't. And I'm, hey, not everything has to be for me, Gary. Like there's a guy out there for which Reality Kings is really working it this week, and it's just not Jeremy Greer.
Yeah, at some point it felt a little bit like there was a shift, like they took a vote and I wasn't there, that porn is going to be 90% spitting on each other. At some point, like it was real big, like maybe 7 years ago. It was like the only thing that happened in porn. It felt like you're just like, there's like actually no sex in this. It's just two fully clothed people spitting on each other's crotches through their pants.
And just
now though, they're spitting, but now everyone is everyone else's stepbrother or sister. Like, I don't know if you noticed that, but that pops up everywhere.
Yeah. That's also very weird. I don't know if this is just me having a lot of siblings that are younger than me, but and having having had some step siblings along the way. I don't know, dude. Just be cool, everybody.
Yeah,
just everybody be cool. Yeah. Sure.
You know, whatever gets you off is fine, but this is old men yelling at clouds.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah, and there's no actual shortage either. Like, it's not like I'm, like I can't find porn that doesn't involve stepbrothers spitting on each other. There's nothing else out there. We've got a national shortage. No, you just, you put in the word amateur and it all goes away.
God, stepbrothers spitting on each other is like a Garth Ennis comic waiting to happen or something, right? Like that's just that's just ready. It's just going to be right there at any point.
Yeah. I can't believe you came to Crossroads Junction to spit. Yeah. This starts moments after Hope zapped Wolverine and mildly inconvenienced Spider-Man. It looked like they knocked him out, but he's fine.
Mm-hmm. I do love Hamburger Wolverine. That's very funny. Because he's
this fun little chair Spider-Man made for himself.
Dude, if I could make a swing, like we're talking about putting, we just don't really have the height to do it, but we really want to put like a swing chair underneath our carport because that's where we've been grilling lately. And just having a little swing chair around is fucking dope as hell, man.
Dude. Yeah, rocking feels so good.
I know, it's so comfortable. It just feels so nice.
So basically Wolverine waking up totally burned up and just being like, what the hell happened? Where's Hope? Luckily Spider-Man gives him some clothes, which they have to have on hand here. And there's I actually liked, as much as nothing happens in this, I like the characterization bit of it. Mm-hmm. Spider-Man's filling him in. He's like, hey, Cyclops, turned himself in. And we're just going to figure out what happens now. And Wolverine's like, oh, Scott gave himself up. Nah, no, he didn't. Yeah. He sees through the ruse.
And on the Utopia platform, I guess is what we're going to call this, like the main meeting area, all of our Avengers and X-Men are kind of separated from one another on two sides. And Captain America and Iron Man are having this conversation where Iron Man is just kind of questioning, like, what are we going to do? Like, or what are you going to charge him with? Like, you came over here and you're trying to take this girl, but like, you don't have the girl. And now you want to lock him up. Like, what?
Yeah. What are you going to do to the X-Men?
Yeah. And like,
well, it's not just Scott, it's all the X-Men.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do with these guys? Do you put him in the raft? Like, what? That's not going to go well. Like, what on earth is your end plan? Like, you're the dog that caught the car, but what are you going to do with it?
Exactly.
And
then this is when Doctor Strange brings in Illyana, who is passed out and says like, hey, this is just a holding spell. She's not hurt. No big deal. And Wolverine rolls up and is like, and then we have this really weird panel where Doctor Strange thinks Logan knows, and Cyclops answers, of course he does, because Wolverine has realized that is not Doctor Strange. And the being that looks like Doctor Strange mutters a spell, and then all of a sudden all of the X-Men teleport away.
Yep. Because Illyana in the other dark universe knocked out Doctor Strange and did like a body swap.
Yeah.
For them to fool the Avengers and distract them. It's pretty cool. They got played. There's a part when Iron Man and Captain America are talking where he's like, maybe the reason why Scott gave up was just to prove this to you. And it's like a pretty slick move. I love how the X-Men are outgunned, but like are using, tactics and shit, to win this. The idea of just like, yeah, sure, you got us. What now? And just using that to buy time.
Can I
until Illyana can go
back.
I
spoil some Cyclops tactics for you as it relates to vampires?
As somebody who just recently fought the vampire, you just Jeremy recently read the X-Men Vampire Wars comics.
Don't read it. It's bad. But the whole vampire plan hinges upon turning Wolverine into a vampire. And when they do, they're worried about his healing factor, like fixing that real quick. And it doesn't. So they're like, yay, we can convert all of the mutants now. Fast forward to the end of the series, they drop Wolverine on Utopia in front of a bunch of other vampires that are going to, turn all of these mutants. And Cyclops' secret thing is that he had implanted the ability to turn off Wolverine's healing factor into Wolverine, and then he just flips it back on so that Wolverine heals himself from being a vampire and then turns and kills all the vampires. And Wolverine's pissed. He's like, I can't believe you did this to me. And I'm like, I can't either. Like, Cyclops, that is cold fucking blooded. Like, you didn't tell him that you could turn off his healing factor? That's the only reason that dude's alive, dog.
Yeah, that's a real, that lends some weight to Schism,
right?
You know, like, oh yeah, like that. Boy, that sucks. That's a dick move.
That's exactly right. Yeah, like what the fuck, Cyclops?
Just imagine Cyclops being like, "I hope this works," and then flipping the switch, and Wolverine immediately aging into dust.
Yeah, what if you had done that
and just leaving behind a metal skeleton?
What if you had done that 10 seconds
like,
before he was a fucking vampire, dog? Like, just
yeah.
So the X-Men get away. They teleport to Long Beach, California, where they are going to they're going to go try to get to the Cerebra, which Namor calls Cerebrus, which I think is very funny.
Called Cerberus.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I love that. Your mutant device, Cerberus. It's very funny.
But there's one at the Jean Grey School for Gifted Learners, Wolverine School, so they're going to go over there.
Yep. Which we get follow up on immediately after this issue. In a really cool little bit. Like Wolverine's like, we're going to need a turn, or Cyclops says, we're going to need a turncoat. He's like, I've got somebody in mind. We cut over to Hope. Hope is creating an anti-mutant detection kind of refractor armband thing that Cable taught her to. Gets spooked by a Phoenix force in the mirror and then runs out. And then we get to see what it did. Captain America and Wolverine are talking to Rachel Grey at the Jean Grey School. And she's like, yeah, I don't know how she did it, but Cerebra's showing her energy signature in 5 different places. She's split it. And there's a really good, little bit here, characterization between Rachel and Wolverine, where so it's like, so if you want to help the Avengers track Hope down, that's all I got.
Yeah.
And Wolverine sees through this. Like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? She plays it off like, oh, it's just early and Cerebra gives me a headache. But this is, foreshadowing her breaking with Wolverine and joining the X-Men again.
And Captain America just like cuts this off, right? He just like cuts the conversation off, and he's like, and Wolverine's pissed, like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, we've already been through this, and I know you're just going to argue. Like, we've got the locations, let's just fucking go. And then sure enough, in the next panel, Rachel Storm. Rachel Summers.
Well, there's before.
Go ahead.
Before we get to that, there's the one little bit I like. When Captain America is justifying why he cuts it off, he's like, "We know what your solution to the problem is. Do you think you're going to tell her that and she was going to feel better?"
Yeah.
Like how are you going to argue her out of this when you are going to try to kill Hope?
Yeah.
That's not going to work. But yeah, so like Rachel Summers immediately next panel.
Yeah, and she's just reaching out to Scott and saying like, "Hey, here are the locations that I found, and the Avengers are already on the trail. Like, you got to get to work."
Yep. We show the Avengers and they split up among the 5 locations. It's the 5 weird places in the Marvel universe, right? So it's, Wundagore and Wakanda and Latveria and Savage Land and Tabula Rasa. So there are 5 places. He splits up the teams. And he's like, stay out of sight, stay out of trouble. Wolverine, you're with me.
I can't.
And my team.
Can't believe he sent Daredevil to Lost Izalith. That doesn't seem like a good fit to me, but what do I know?
Yeah. Well, he's the only one who can not get blinded by the lava. Like, he's the best hero to explore Lost Izalith.
Mockingbird's in the back like, I gotta go to New Orlando again? I hate that place.
And Wolverine knows something's up. He's like, hey, I saw that little look between you and Sharon when I got on the ship. Captain America goes, yeah, like, come on, let's talk. Brings him in back and is like, hey, you went against orders, you went off on your own in Utopia, and that's why Hope ran away. She was scared. And basically gets on Wolverine's case for not following orders here during this mission. This is the part that feels a little bit weird because Captain America is not about, following orders to the letter.
Well, and this comes down to the distinction between like Captain America saying like, or Wolverine saying, I will do anything to prevent, Hope from gaining the Phoenix Force because I've seen what the Phoenix can do. I've seen it destroy the people that I love. Like, that's Logan's point of view. And Captain America says like, I'm not going to let you just kill that girl. And then, and this is where it comes to blows. But at the same time, I feel like Captain America's smart enough to know, like, you don't just tell Wolverine not to do this. You just manage him out of the situation. Like, you could have just had him go to space or something. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you could have just easily, like, I mean, you could just, like, Steve Rogers is a smart dude, and Wolverine is kind of is not dumb, but he's kind of a bullheaded, go in a straight line and kill everything between him and his goal kind of dude. And you could kind of outwit him into doing something if you really wanted to. Punching him in the face because he's not following orders is not the way to go about this at all.
Nah. Even just dumping him out without doing the conversation, would have been better. Like, I don't know why he thought Wolverine would just be like, okay, we're doing it your way. It's not very Wolverine-y. He says you're setting it out, and we get our Wolverine versus Captain America fight. And Captain America and my boy Hank Pym basically just dumpster Wolverine here.
I didn't really think it was necessary to give him a swirly in the toilet, but I guess when Hank Pym can't get out of fucking high school, right? Fucking bully.
Huge wedgie. They show him pictures of him kissing his brother.
Ooh.
That they photoshopped. It's real weird. As a psychological distraction.
Wolverine, I didn't even know I had a brother.
Bob.
I haven't gained those memories back, Bob.
But they just beat the crap out of Wolverine and then dump him out of an airlock.
That's it.
Like Giant Man, literally, like, this is Sparta's him into the Arctic on the way to the Savage Land.
And I feel like that's why this feels so slight, because this is like a 8-page fight between these two dudes until Ant-Man comes out and Spartas him off the plane. And like, it just, I don't know. Like, I don't need to see Wolverine and Captain America fighting, like, especially over something kind of dumb, like the Captain America could have not brought him onto the plane with. And the idea that you drop Wolverine, of all people, into the middle of nowhere, and you're like, well, that's dealt with. Like, really? That's your plan?
Yeah. It's super not. Like, and even Wolverine's like, this is stupid. Like, this is dumb. And the thing, he's like, this is all up to me. So this is splitting. He's going to be a third agent who's going to go and just try to kill Hope on his own, is the movement. And the rest of the series presumably is the Avengers in these the 5 weird places in the Marvel universe looking for Hope. Which I'm down for. Like, they'll fight monsters and shit. That's the end of the issue, is just setting up this status quo for Wolverine for the crossover.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And this was like, okay, like, this feels like, a build up issue. Nothing too dramatic here. I like some Scott Summers being tactical. Ileana pretended to be Doctor Strange. It's very funny to me for various reasons. So
yeah, absolutely. Like, it's a fun issue that moves things around. It's very slight, but on Marvel Unlimited, that's not a problem.
I was definitely looking for this to be more like when we looked at the next 4 issues coming up, and I was like, oh yeah, Avengers vs. X-Men 3, like, that's going to be a big one. And it was not.
Yeah, it is not. I think that's probably one of the big criticisms of this crossover, is there aren't a whole lot of big ones. And that's okay. It's the other thing too about this week is we got another new Avengers issue that is really horrible. So this just feels good in comparison to me.
It does at that. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Hey, if you've liked this episode, you can support us and the rest of the Duckfeed.tv network by going to patreon.com/DuckFeedTV. A couple of bucks a month will give you access to all sorts of exclusive content, episodes early, access to the Slack channel, the ability to boss Gary and Cole around. You could send me threatening messages on Twitter, but you could do that for free, so I don't know why you would do Patreon for that. You can do all of those things, and that would be really appreciative.
You owe us for the suffering.
Yeah, like,
if you're going to send Jeremy a threatening message, at least give us a couple bucks.
I mean, it seems like they'll.
Don't send me any messages.
Do not perceive Gary as the message of this podcast.
But
thank you to everybody listening. Thank you for the people leaving reviews. We really appreciate it. We'll be back in a couple of days with Wolverine and the X-Men number 10.